How are WoW players still defending this? Probably because they're still hungry for more of it. With the past few days of Asmon talking about this, how are people still defending wasting time? When he talked about it, he initially played Final Fantasy and Lost Ark. What changes he made all the Adelblaine Raiders triggered now, unless I missed it. I just beat the most recent raid tier in Final Fantasy. You know how much time was spent between raiding, aka doing a rotation and killing the boss, and downtime. 20-second for pull, 5 for loading back after the wipe, 15 for the pull timer, which is only that long because of Dancer's damage buff, and each of these pulls is roughly 4 to 6 minutes. Let's say it averages out to 5 minutes, so after a 3-hour raid night, we have the following wasted time. So there's only 9 minutes of wasted time. Yeah, okay, alright, that's pretty fucking good. Asmon literally counted this shit out over a year ago when he compared raiding in Vault of the Wardens to Lost Ark in summer of 2022. I wonder why he hasn't really raided since. Maybe you WoW Andes should go watch the VOD. True. True, I've said this. I don't know why. Listen, MMO players take pride in having their time wasted by developers. That's just how it is. And it's always how it's been. MMO players are prideful about having their time deleted for arbitrary reasons. That's it. Raiding in Vault of the... I was raiding in Vault of the Incarnates. And I said that it was taking so long to do anything. Keep in mind, this seems like a really well-organized raid, not regular group or pug. Yeah, for sure, definitely. But, like, at least, I don't know, I'm amazed that I'm getting so much pushback for saying that I think that you shouldn't have to run back to a boss every single time you die. Like, I don't understand, like, why I'm getting so much pushback on that. I don't get it. But I think it's just dumb WoW players. Didn't you love Classic? I did. But Classic's a completely different dynamic. So, for example, in Classic, I never run back to bosses. Do you know why? Because I don't wipe. Because it's Classic. If I had to sit there and wipe on a Classic raid boss and run back every single time, I wouldn't play the fucking game. The only reason I play it is because they're loot pinatas. Yeah, come on. Sunk cost fallacy for people who feel like they're wasting time with nothing to do with their life? Yeah, I don't know what to say. Push back for run back. Exactly. It's not even a question. But for some people, and supposed to play games with friends, meet new people, not waste time. True, true, true. Absolutely. Just remember, once you stop eating shit, you lose the right to comment on how bad shit tastes. That's right. And even if... dude, main WoW players are defending downtime and raids. Most people take issue with Asmon's other arguments, like fully removing LFR and Mythic and wanting to keep gear from previous tiers. Notably, the gear argument is particularly bad since the entire WoW community had a meltdown over having to use the 10.07 ring and Aeronog ring in 10.1 tier. Okay, so let's go ahead and explain this for somebody who doesn't understand it. So yes, I do think they should remove LFR, and I think they should remove Mythic. But if you say that with just a period, that's not really what I think. What I think is that the difficulty for LFR and normal should be combined. And I think that the difficulty for heroic and mythic should be combined, where you make the the content a little bit easier, and I think you make it to where there's less item level inflation. Too many differences, too many difficulties. Yeah, exactly. So like if you say that I want to remove LFR and mythic, like that's true technically, but it's a complete deliberate misunderstanding of what I think. It's a deliberate misunderstanding, and it's also a deliberate oversimplification to make it sound bad. Yes, I do think that, but the reason why is that I think they should be combined into 2 difficulties. At minimum. Preferably, I'd like to have 1 difficulty, and that's it. And also about wanting to keep gear from previous tiers. I actually didn't say that either. So whenever BWL came out, how many pieces of your gear did you replace in BWL? Actually, how many pieces of your gear did you keep once you finished BWL and you had BWL BIS? Probably 2 pieces, if you're a warrior, right? You had Onslaught Girdle and you had Band of Acuria. Was there anything else besides that you would hold on to? Thunder Fury, if you had Thunder Fury. Chromatic Boots? Well, BWL, you use Chromatic Boots, yeah. DFT? No, I mean items that you kept from Molten Core. Like items that you received out of Molten Core that you would use for the entirety of BWL. Quick Strike Ring? Yeah. Pink Boots? Pink Boots, you're talking about the boots from Chromagus. Striker's Mark? Yeah, Striker's Mark as well. Well, what I'm saying is that there's a lot of these things that were not actually kept. And that's really what my point is that I don't think that you should have to keep all of the gear, and having a new raid tier come out, you do replace most of your gear, even in Classic WoW. All I'm saying is that I think that it's okay, and actually this is like a secondary opinion. The main point that I was making about gear was actually that I felt like my gear got replaced. So it's not that I kept my gear into the next tier, it's that the next tier brought in content to the game. So this is kind of like, I think I can explain it better with like a graph. So probably this wouldn't work. Let's see. So like this is the heroic item level, and then this is the mythic item level, right? But then the next tier, let's see. Actually, I'm trying to remember like which expansion or which patch this was like. They're changing this next patch. By the way, old mythic will be equivalent to new LFR versus it being normal before. Wait, what? So you're saying they're making it worse? So what you're saying is that in the next tier is going to be orange. And then the next tier after this. Are you serious? If you're best in slot in Mythic Raid, you should be best in slot in Heroic Raid next patch. Yes. This is what I think that it should be. Okay. So this is what it is. This is the way that I think it should be. Okay. So you have normal, heroic, mythic, and then the next tier comes out. Only ever replace trinkets? No, that's not how it works. So, I don't think that you should ever have to go down to do heroic in order to get geared to do mythic for the next tier. And the reason why is that I think that it makes it feel, and this is the way that I feel, right? This is how I feel. Like, I raid for gear. Okay, like you have to understand this. Like I raid for gear, and the moment that they took gear out of raids, I stopped raiding because I never really liked raiding. I only did raids because it had the best gear in it. And so the moment that they got rid of that in like Legion or like in BFA, I just quit because why would I waste my time with this if I don't have to? Especially whenever I could get the same gear or better from PvP, like in Shadowlands at the beginning, or I could do it from Mythic Plus. They'll never do that because retail players hate going back for bits loot. This is going to be like a super unpopular opinion, especially from retail players, but I liked how in BFA, so, excuse me, in BFA, you had to go back and get Ashvane's Razor Coral and Dashara's Font from Emerald, from the Eternal Palace. Yep. I thought that was good for the game because it caused people to have to go back and do another raid. That's right. And so, yeah, it's good if Warforged doesn't exist. Yeah, sure. Your takes is so shit. Well, you can disagree with my opinion, but I just like that. Yeah, like, I'm not saying, like, again, you can, like, this is my opinion of what I would enjoy more in the game. And I also think that more people would enjoy this. Because I do think that there are a lot of people out there that play WoW who feel demotivated whenever a new raid tier comes out, and content that is substantially easier than what they earned their gear from before is now massively better and more rewarding than what they just got done doing. I feel like this is demoralizing, and it makes people feel like they are on an eternal treadmill. Because that's the way I feel. And that's the way I've read other people say, and this is just like my vibe check from playing the game for so long, right? Even though I'm not playing it at this exact moment right this second, but this is my experience. Can you remind why they added Warforged in the first place? Just so they give people more shit to do. Like, that's why. Another problem I've had in the past was finding people to do old raids for specific loot, which happened in Lost Ark, but otherwise agreed. Yeah. And I think that if you had, like, and that's the problem, right, is that, like, if only one class needs to go back and get anything, then it's kind of an issue. And especially whenever the raids are really annoying to do. Like, if raids are easier to do, like Trial of the Crusader, compare it to that. Like, Trial of the Crusader was, like, super easy to do, so it wasn't that hard to get groups for Death's Verdict. So it's like, making raids more accessible and easier to do makes it to where going back and doing the old raids is less punishing and annoying. It's like this because people need to play more and go back to the game more often. It's not a gameplay choice. Well, what I'm saying is that it does the opposite, right? Because whenever I feel like my gear... So this is like my logic, is that right about here, like not at Mythic, but like right under it, you have Mythic Plus. And there is no reason for me ever to step inside a Mythic raid if Mythic Plus gear is equivalent. Did you like Titan Forging? I'm gonna hit you guys with a really, really, really hot take. I think they should bring back Titan Forging for all gear that's heroic and below. I don't think that they should bring back Titan Forging for Mythic Plus, for Mythic, like, top-end gear. But I think that they should make it to where, like, World Quest can Titan Forge, normal mode raid gear can Titan Forge, and maybe even heroic mode raid gear can Titan Forge maybe +5. But like the high-end gear can't. So yeah, that way it wouldn't fuck with like end game progression for people that like really want to get their bis, but at the same time it would still allow people to have something to work towards, and it could create like... The thing is, I do think that there is an exciting element for people. Like, I remember my mom got, like, this ring at the beginning of Legion that was, like, the same item level as, like, higher... It was, like, 890 item level ring at the beginning of Legion. And, like, 895 was the cap, and she got it from a World Quest, and she, like, used that forever. And, like, she was kind of happy that that happened. I think that's kind of, music's a little loud. I'm not going to change it anymore. Like, I'm not going to go up and down every time the song changes. I'm not going to... No. This is how it's going to be. And so I have an Arcano Crystal with Socket and Leech. Oh, I do too, actually. Yeah. I think that raids are too hard. Don't most people play LFR, so it doesn't matter? I don't know. It's very hard to say. But anyway, this is why I get demotivated. So I don't think that all of the gear should carry over, but I think that your Mythic raid gear should be used to do more Mythic raids. You shouldn't need to use your Mythic raid gear to re-clear Heroic to get better Heroic gear than what you previously had from Mythic. I find this to be incredibly demoralizing, and it makes me feel like all of the effort that I put into the Mythic raiding went for nothing, because I could have just waited until Heroic for the next tier and gotten this gear, and it would have been way better. So I don't feel good about making that progress. Does that make sense? Because I feel like it just got reset at that point. So I would like to go from Mythic to Mythic or from Heroic to Heroic, rather than go from... Apparently now we're going from Mythic to LFR. Like, LFR gear replaces the next level Mythic gear. Or previous level. That's how I felt at TBC. Yeah. Gear is so easy to get with the Vault and Mythic Plus, though. People don't need to set foot in a Mythic raid to get really good gear. Yeah, but why... Like, but they should want to. You see what I'm saying? People should want to do Mythic raids. And I think some of the big reasons why people don't want to do Mythic raids in WoW, it's pretty simple. Number one, Mythic raids should just be cross-realm on release. Just period. Because, like, a lot of people, they want to raid, but they can't because they're on a server where there's not a lot of people. Like, there's no reason that you can't have cross-realm raids. Like, I don't want to wait for the, 100 worst, like, the 10 worst alliance guilds to kill a boss on Mythic. Like, oh my god, for Hall of Fame. This is so stupid. And yeah, they should also completely standardize Mythic lockouts, the same as they did with Heroic. It is a vestige of a... It didn't make sense 10 years ago, okay? I'll just put it like that. So it was stupid 10 years ago, it was already outdated by then, and it's still outdated. So that's another reason why they don't do it. Another reason as well is because Mythic raids require way more effort than Mythic Plus. They require you to get... It's the same reason why everybody does Arena and nobody does RBGs. Are there people that do RBGs? Yes, but there's way more people that do Arena. And Arena is also then getting cannibalized by Solo Shuffle, because Solo Shuffle is easier to get into. You don't have to worry about these like meta comps as much, and you could just play your own fucking character. And that's why they're adding, yes, solo queue RBGs, exactly. Mythic is only for cosmetics. Your take is outdated. It's no longer faction Hall of Fame. Do you think that changes what I'm saying? Okay, I'm glad that they fixed that. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Is that, like, I'm glad they fixed that. Number one, I'm very glad they fixed that. But number two, why would that matter? Yeah, yes, it does change it actually. No, it doesn't, because I think you should be able to do it at the first day. So they need to remove lockout. Well, they should do both. They should make it to where you can raid cross realm on the first day, or at least after the first week of Mythic. Like, if they didn't do it on the first week for the world first race, I wouldn't really care, because I think it would just, like, it would be such a minor inconvenience that it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. But after the first week, I see no value to that. Like, I don't know why in the second week we can't just raid Mythic cross realm. And really, why can't we just do that on the first week? Because how is being able to raid cross realm actually going to affect Mythic first raiders or world first raiders? There's no real reason. Like, I'm glad they changed Hall of Fame, but it's still going to be an issue, because waiting for 100 guilds to clear something is still going to take probably over a month. So you're telling people that raid cross realm, that are on servers that aren't that populated, you can't make any meaningful progression with your character for an entire month. So why the fuck would you want to raid? Yeah, X-Realm raid should just not get Hall of Fame and let us raid. Yeah, exactly. I will say X-Realm will not matter week 1 for world first. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? It's like, maybe that's why, but like, yeah, I mean, any world first guild is going to account for that anyway. I think it's about BOEs and funneling items. Well, that's such a stupid reason. That's a terrible reason. Like, so they don't want people to funnel items? Like, what is this? BOEs aren't BOE anymore? Yeah, that's not true. Mythic is 6 item level higher than Heroic. Big fucking deal. I think it's a huge deal. Because why would I want to invest a huge amount of time into the game in order to Mythic raid? And also even Heroic raid, whenever the gear I'm getting isn't the best gear. I think people really downplay the amount of time investment that raiding takes. And because raiding takes such a big time investment, people don't want to do it unless they're getting the best gear in the game. And that's why Classic and like Burning Crusade worked. It's because you would do the raid and you would get the best gear in the game. And that's why so many people did it. And then you get rid of that, and now you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And guess what? People stop doing it. People downplay the fact that a lot of people want the best gear, even if they don't do Mythic. Yes, exactly. People do want to get the best gear. And I don't think you can give people subpar or below the best gear for doing something that's like an organized activity that takes a lot of time. That means the content's bad then? No, it doesn't. There's a lot of people that don't do ultimates in Final Fantasy. It doesn't mean ultimates are bad. No. It just means that people are going to be motivated more by gear than by anything else. It's just common sense, right? They're concerned about new players that are not joining the game. There's a lot of reasons. But anyway, yeah, let's go back to this. Either way, this is the kind of stuff that, these are people that will, take what I say and then turn it into something I didn't say and then argue against it. I do want to remove LFR and Mythic, but in the context of doing that, I would want to make LFR a bit harder and normal a bit harder, and Heroic probably about the same as it is now, maybe a little bit harder, like after nerfs and stuff. And then just make it to where there are 2 difficulties, right? So this is just an oversimplification of what I said. The gear argument, having all of the gear get replaced. I also think the WoW community is being unreasonable, getting mad about having to use an item from the previous expansion or previous patch. I think this is stupid, and I think that's better gameplay, is to have to go back and do old raids to get certain special items. I think that's good for the game. I think it makes it more exciting, and it gives people more like meta goals to chase after. I think that's cool. And some people might disagree, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you know, again, another person arguing with something I didn't say.